Hey everyone, Paul Sam. Welcome to part 5 of our Fujimi 116 Porsche 959 video build. Before we get going today,
so make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the little bell notifications, get notified of all our latest videos, click the like button and leave a comment. I do read and reply to all the comments and appreciate everybody that takes the time to leave a comment on the channel. And of course, if you scroll up in the description, there's a link to a big long list of all the items I use in my videos. So if you see anything, you should be able to find it in there.
Back with part 5 already. I know. We're flying through this. I'm getting so much footage because I'm doing so much work on this that I've got this part and I've got a little bit of the next one done as well, where we're going to start working on the engine and what have you. So very, very busy, and I think it's pretty evident I'm really enjoying this build. And like I say, I bought 3 more of these kits. One's arrived, 2 are on the way. So yeah, they're very good. They're good fun. I'm just praying and fingers crossed that the final assembly goes well. We don't have any problems with the glass work and things like that, but we won't know that till the end, and hopefully it'll all go well. So in part 4, which was released on Wednesday, I think. Yes, Wednesday. We got all our interior primed and painted and flocked and masked off. Today, we're going to continue from that. We're going to mask it all. We're going to detail paint it. We're going to get some decals on and get it all assembled to the point it's basically finished, as I've just shown you there as well. No, I didn't actually. That was in a different outtake. I didn't show you. That was in the last one. So it's going to look like that. Can you see it? Looking good. You'll see it at the end. And that's a major step of the build out of the way. And like I said, I've done this a little bit out of order than normal because there was parts I worked on while other parts were drying, and I thought, you know what, we'll stick with those. Like the engine components were painted ages ago, and like part 2. But I thought there's no point showing those and then jumping to the interior and then jumping back. So I've saved all the footage so that we get the progression in stages rather than chronologically. I think it makes a bit more sense to do that rather than losing the continuity as we go through the video. So yeah, today we'll be finishing off the interior, and next time we'll get all the running gear for the, well, it's not the running gears, it's funny, this one. It's basically the engine components at the back, so there's a subframe and all the engine components. We've still got all the suspension to do, the brake work to do. This is going to be way past 5 or 8, this is going to be about 10 parts, this thing. I was thinking about it last night. There's so much to do still. We're going to be about 10 parts. We're about halfway through, I reckon, to get this done. I don't think it's going to take long. I think we'll be done in a couple of weeks. Fingers crossed, all going well. But yeah, we're going to be about 10 parts. So yeah, I thought it made more sense to keep it in order of the process rather than doing it as a went, because we'd be back and forth and it'd be really annoying. So yeah, there's a lot of footage already filmed, which is why I'm kind of losing track of where I am at the minute. So bear with me, I'm all over the place. So yeah, let's get in. Let's get to where we left off last time. We've already done master part. I didn't catch it on camera. I am burning through batteries like you wouldn't believe, and SD cards. I seriously need to get more batteries. I've got 5 of them, and I'll use them all up in an afternoon, and then it takes 3-4 hours to recharge. They're a nightmare. And sometimes while I'm working away, the camera will go off without me realising. It just bleeps once, so if I'm listening to something or talking to somebody, I might not notice it, and it's missed a couple of key points out along the way, and one of them was unmasking the panels we did. But all it would have been was pulling off masking tape. It pretty much went absolutely spot on. So no real dramas to report. Just the one about the instrument binnacle, which you'll see in a minute. So bear with me. And there's a little bit of our shot here as well, which I didn't realise I was zoomed in as well. The camera is basically running the whole time I'm in it at the minute. It's just on all the time. I'm filling an 8 gig card up every day with 5-6 hours worth of footage. So it's getting a bit confusing at times now. So bear with me. I'm doing my best, and hopefully we get a good product at the end. Enough waffle, let's jump in. Right, so straight back at it. We've unmasked all the parts that we sprayed last time, and thankfully, on the whole, the masking was a complete success. We had one little piece on the dashboard binnacle where the paint hadn't quite reached, and that was right in that right-hand corner where I said it might be a bit of an issue. We just brush painted a tiny little bit of semi-gloss black in there. Job done. So now we've got our carpeted door card pockets to put on. These were flocked
using the embossing powder exactly the same as with all the other parts. There's a little bit of glue on the back, which you just have to cut off to get it to sit in the hole properly. No idea where it came from. Looked like a little dab of super glue. So I just trimmed it off, and then we push fit them in. And there we go. Now the embossing powder, like I said, it does still come off. It does still powder off. So what we do when we get it all completed, we will literally give it all the dust down with the airbrush. Because what I've noticed in the past is we end up with little bits of powder on the interior of the car, and static will pull it to the glass and things like that. So once we're happy with it at the end, we'll give it a good air blow off and get it all cleaned up. But there we go, one door card done. A little bit of Say glue on the back. Put that to one side to dry. We'll repeat it on the other one. Just checking our rear seats. I use that term loosely. They're all looking good still. We've masked off our speaker grills at the back, same way we did the doors. And I'm just removing excess bits of the embossing powder just to make sure there's no flaws. And then once I'm happy, we know this piece is done and can go and live to one side till we need it. So like I say, the embossing powder does still come off. Once we give her all a good blow over, we can clear it off. Now, mounting these seats. Now, on the real car, these sit absolutely flush to the back. They're held on by a little snap cap popper, by a little bit of leather. So these should sit right at the very back. So there's a little locating point and a hole in the back of the seat, which I'm just clearing out a bit of excess enamel paint and embossing powder with the knife, just by lightly scoring across it. And hopefully these should just slot in. A little bit of CA glue again and job done. But as you'll see in a minute, that's not quite the case. The way this fits in, it leaves a gap behind it of a good 0.5 centimetre, a good 5mm gap, possibly even more. So we need to rectify that, because I don't want the gap down the back, as you'll see it through the rear window. So the way we'll rectify it is we'll cut the bottom piece off that we're just slotting in now. So there we go, we'll locate it in. See, a little bit more to remove. This is why dry fitting is very important. I dry fitted these in the beginning and they fitted not too bad at all. We're obviously taking up the tolerances a bit with the embossing powder. It makes it a bit more difficult. So there we go. So yeah, 0.5 centimetre I was way off. That's a good 1.5 centimetres, probably 0.5 inch to be honest. So yeah, that's not right at all. So looking at it, I'm going to make sure it is correct. And we'll pop it back in. Make sure we've got the right side. Yeah, that is the right one. There we go. We'll push it back in and have another look. But yeah, it's way off. It's miles off. And looking back at it now, I was thinking, could I have bent the plastic at the bottom and pushed it back? But way too much stress. Way too much stress. It's not quite right. So my thoughts are now, we can either super glue it to the back, but it's a big gap to try and force like that, or we can snip off the bottom part, glue it directly to the seat and just angle it back towards it. And I chose the latter. So looking at it, I grabbed my Tamiya cutters. We just snipped it flush. We'll put a couple of dabs of CA glue in. We'll just test fit it first. Where we're going to go, it's going to go there, just like that. And then we'll grab some of our CA glue. A couple of dabs on the bottom, a dab at the back, and job done. Now, the only thing I did notice, because the seat is now sitting further back than it should be for the kit, the seats were a little bit tight at the back. But for me, I'd rather have them tight than loose, because it means they'll hold in a little better. So it just required a little bit of pressure, as you'll see in a minute. So there we go, quick dab of CA glue. We're going to need a touch more. Our Loctite Perfect pen. Nice thick gel CA glue. So we're just lining it up behind that locating slot. Literally just behind it. We're going to pop our bottom in, like so. And hold it in place. And there we go, that looks much better. There's a bit of a gap underneath, so we just slide it forward a touch. And once we're in the car, we will never see that gap. And there we go, there's the other side in. As you can see, it just springs out in the middle of touch. So we're going to put a little dab of CA glue underneath at the back. Wipe off any excess. If you're quick, you can get it off. And there we go. And then we'll just give it a bit of pressure, then push in each side. And job's a good one. It's not too bad.
Front seats, these are made up of 4 components. So we've got the seat front, seat back, seat base, and the electronic adjusters. So these are adjustable seats. They do recline forward and back. It's a little bit gimmicky, and it kind of works, but it makes the seat sit off center a little bit. So yeah, I was just checking I had the right parts, make sure they're not handed. And I still couldn't decide if they were, but this side worked well, so I decided to go with that. Front part literally slots on over the back, and you could probably leave them like that if you wished. But for me, it was just leaving a little bit of a gap at the top. I just needed pushing down a touch. So a couple of dabs of CA glue at the back again will secure it in place. Now what I did notice was a little bit of excess plastic just on the bottom of the rear seat mount. So we're just going to scrape that off. Again, we did test fit these, but I think when you start painting things, adding primer and paint starts to take up the tolerances a little bit, makes them a little bit tighter. What we want is this to work, but it'll probably never get used anyway. The seats will just sit in one position. It's not like I'm actually going to be climbing in the back of the car. So there we go, just a quick test fit. Cannot stress how important test fitting is. Before you commit to gluing anything, test fit it, make sure it goes in properly, make sure it sits where you want it. If it doesn't sit where you want it, once it's got a bit of CA glue in it, can you manipulate it to work? As you can see, perfect. No problem at all. So we'll leave that one there. Chance that we do. No, leave it there. Yeah, let's do the other one. So yeah, test fitting, very useful thing to do. Just take your time. Make sure everything's fitted. As I'm doing here, make sure things aren't handed, i.e. one specifically for the right or left. I'm not sure they are on this, but the other one definitely fitted the other seat a little bit better. The seat bases are handed. The seat backs, I'm not too sure, but there we go. So that's them dry fitted. They fit in pretty well. I think all they need is a dab of CA glue and just pushing down at the top to take up that gap a little bit. So we've got some more of our Loctite CA glue. Going to apply a generous little slither at the back. That goes inside at the back. And then these 2 little points at the side. We'll just apply a little bit there and there. And then we'll put the top in first. Slide the bottom in. Push it home. And then we're going to push it down from the top to make sure that little bit of a gap is gone. And there we go. Perfect. Now the decals. Now, I need to explain about this. So bear with me. These are old decals, they're 30 odd years old, 35 years old, and yeah, I didn't know how they're going to react, so I tested just the Fujimi logo to begin with to see how it would work, and thankfully it came off the backing sheet, no problem at all, no cracking, nothing. I thought, good, we're good to go. So instrument panels here to go on next. We need to have a little bit of chat about the decals, and we'll do that in a minute, just after we've got these decals on. So instrument panels, as you see the dashboard, very well masked off. Very happy how that turned out. The time spent there was well worth it. Now you are going to see a bit of a catastrophe in a second, but it's not the end of the world, and it brings about a bit of a happy accident, I suppose it is. Well, not an accident, a happy coincidence. So there's 5 of them. They are number ordered, so make sure you get them in the right order. We're popping them in place, just using our cotton bud to push them home and get rid of the excess water solution behind them. They're actually not bad decals. Fujimi, to me, are renowned for crappy decals, and these are not too bad at all. They're not cracking, they're not going on funny, they're not, too thick, too thin. They're just about right. They're the good size as well. They're literally placing in, pushing down the cotton bud, and they fit in perfect. And I had no issues with these whatsoever until a silly mistake by me in a minute. So we'll pop those in there. Now these were quite badly yellowed, and we are in the winter in the UK, and we don't have a lot of sunshine. So I had to think outside the box of a way of fixing them. And we'll have a little bit of a chat about that in a second. So they're all in place. All the excess moisture has been removed. We're hitting these with the UMP Strong solution. I've already hit them once, and then I've made the mistake of coming back, and yes, it's picked up that decal, and it's destroyed it. So
My own stupid fault. Once I put the decal solutions on, I should just left it be. But a silly mistake cost us a decal. Now, I knew I had these. These are Airscale instrument decals for 1/32 planes. I knew I had them, and I had a plan all along with them anyway. But thankfully, looking at them, and we're going to ponder now and have a little choose of our decal we fancy, something that will fit in that instrument cluster and look okay. Now, it is a little bit small, but thankfully, once it's in, it still looks okay. So I've gone with this one over here. You can't really see it, but I couldn't tell you what it is anyway. It's some type of gauge. I chose that one, thought that fits in pretty well with them. So we'll cut it out, pop it in our water, give it a minute or two, and pop it in place. Now, sadly, I haven't got my footage of me putting it in place, but it's exactly the same as the others. Now, while I was in that pack getting those decals, I found this perfect piece of acetate. And like I say, happy little accident finding it by ruining the other decal. I thought that is absolutely perfect for putting over the instrument decals to create the clear glass plastic that would go over. I was going to use a clear varnish to do it, but this is so much better. So I've made a space circle cutter. And look at this for a first time guess. Absolutely perfect size. So we've literally cut it with the space circle cutter, which is adjustable for a multitude of sizes, popped it in place, and if you look at that left decal, it has got a perfect glass plastic looking screen. So it is adjustable. You can adjust it to multiple sizes. I have the acetate taped to the bench, as you can see. And a couple of twirls. Got to give it a few more than if it was paper, because it does take a while to cut through the plastic because the plastic's a lot thicker. And there we go, it's stuck to the blade. And again, a near enough perfect size just by guessing. Absolute guesswork. Very happy. So the center one's one size, the two outside the center are the same size, and the two far edge are the same size as well. So the middle one, 3 different sizes basically. And again, we pop it home. They were that perfect to fit, they didn't even need any glue. They literally slotted in. I literally knocked it out of the park guessing these sizes. There is a very rough gauge on the side that you just got to undo and move along or move back. And just by sheer guesswork, I nailed all these straight away. It's a very, very handy tool. It's an expensive tool though. Off the top of my head, they're about £60 to buy. They're not cheap, but for jobs like this is invaluable. Absolutely invaluable, and this is going to look ultimately better than PVA based glue to replicate the binnacle. And there you go, look at that. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. No glue required. I cut them perfectly to size by pure chance, and they fitted in absolutely perfect. A little bit of detail painting here. So we've got our model colour, black. Thinned a little bit of water. Just going to detail paint the stalks on the side of the steering column. And then we'll do a handbrake lever as well. Now, if you've not looked into this car, the 959, there's a great video online running through it. I'll try and remember and put in the description of the video, because this, I believe, is the most technologically advanced car at the time. And listening to everything that's in there, it is a phenomenal machine. How much technology was in this thing. So if I remember, I'll put the link in the description. It's a very, very good video and well worth, I think it's half an hour long, watch of it to look at some of the absolutely amazing features this car really had in it. But as usual, model colour black, one of my staple colours I use on every single car, working just as normal. Again, typical brush painting, thin it enough, don't keep going over it if you can help it. Once you're happy, put it to one side to dry, and we're all good. Now, with the seats, I wanted to add a wash. I did try grey on its own, you couldn't even see it. It's a grey leather interior, so we need to highlight it a little bit. So I've got some grey enamel panel liner, which is Tamiya's enamel wash. And we've got the black of the same type. I'm just going to make a very, very dark grey. And what we want to do is just add some depth and interest to the seats, without making it look too stark or OTT. So it is going to be a very, very dark grey. And my plan was to see how it looked when it was placed in, i.e. left in there and not really removed. And then B, if it looked too much, I'd remove as much as possible and just leave behind the hint of it to give that little bit of a weathered look, or just to basically give it a bit more depth. As you see, the capillary action of the wash works absolutely perfect. They are very good washes. Sadly, they are quite hard to get in the UK, but it's a case of just touching it at the panel line, exactly the same way we do body panels, and let the capillary action carry it into all these recesses. And like I say, we'll let it dry and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. If there's too much contrast, we'll remove as much as we can and see how that looks. One thing I did contemplate was dry brushing the seats to add a little bit of extra depth, and I'm still on the fence about doing that. I'm not 100% sure. I think I kind of look like how they look now. Door cards get the same treatment. The rear seats get the same treatment. Dashboard didn't really need any, to be honest. The steering wheel gets it, as do the door cards, as you can see here, and the center console too. So, like I say, we're just applying it. We're going to let it dry. It's totally removable. We're putting an enamel wash over a lacquer paint, so we've got no issues with reactions. And we can remove it with odorless mineral spirits should we need to. But I thought we'll pop it in, let it dry, remove the excess, and see what it looks like. Now, looking at the next day, it's too stark a contrast. As you can see, it's just too much. It looks odd. Looking at it, I thought, yeah, no, it needs to come out. So we've got some Winsor & Newton Santador there, odorless mineral spirits. We have Cottonwood from Tamiya. And what we're going to do, we're going to get as much of this wash out as possible, and it will always stain or leave a little bit of a tint behind, and that's probably going to give us the look we need. Around the edges, the edge of the seat isn't too bad. I quite like that dark recess because it kind of does pick that up because it's quite a deep panel, but the center recesses just look too much. It looked too dark. It made too much of an opposite contrast. And as you can see here, I am going to town, getting rid of as much as possible. Tamiya cotton buds are fantastic. I know a lot of people say they're overpriced. You can buy cheaper ones. For a start, I don't think that they're expensive. I don't use them all the time. I probably use about 2, maybe 3 a week. The cheaper ones, you can get cheaper pointed ones. They are not as tightly formed or packed, and they will not get into recesses as good as these. These are really hard as nails. As you can see, the seats decided to come off one side. This isn't an issue at all. We can dabble up with sea glue in that later on. But it's looking better. Once we remove that excess wash from the centre, it's starting to look a bit more natural looking now. So like I say, we'll just go to town, get rid of as much as we can out the centre of those. Let it dry again and we'll have a little look. But thankfully, it looked a lot better. So just take your time. Don't go absolutely mad. It looks like I'm applying a lot of pressure. It's not that much I'm applying there. Because while the paints may not react with each other, friction will burn off paint if you're not careful. There we go. Once we're around the cotton bud, we'll pick up our tissue and just wipe off any excess wash that you can see that's just travelled to the rest of the seat. But like I say, it does stain the paint, so it does add a bit more depth as well. And there we go, much better. Steering wheel was given the same wash. Now this looked a lot better on this because I think it's because it's a deeper, more pronounced recess. I think it suited a lot better, so we left this one alone. We just took off the excess from the top. So if you notice, I have one end of the cotton bud wet, the other dry. Use the wet piece to wet it first, and then the dry piece to remove the wash. And this looked absolutely perfect. Now, the gear knob. I was contemplating, is this an embossed gear knob in the same leather colour as the gear stick itself, or has it got an actual insert for the shift gate pattern. And looking online, it had an insert. So this was the original reason I wanted to use these decals. I just looked for the one closest to looking like a shift pattern from a distance. Again, no idea what instrument it is at all. But from a distance, I thought that looks a bit like a shift pattern. So let's put it on the gear stick. Let's get it lined up and get it set in place. And great, worked really well. And again, just adds a little bit more visual interest to the interior. Why you don't get one with the Fujimi decals, I do not know. And again, just very carefully set it in place and we're done. Center console, absolutely masked perfectly. No problems there at all. We've got a handbrake cable in place. What I've also done as well off camera is very lightly dry brushed all the raised areas. Now I didn't catch it on camera unfortunately, but all I've done is used a grey paint, removed most of it off the brush, and then dry brushed over all the recesses to give them a little bit of highlighting. So it makes the dark black switches and what have you just get slightly grey edges and just adds a little bit of depth again. I didn't catch it on camera unfortunately, but I'll show it again at a later date. Again, steering wheel's in, we've got the column in there with our switch gear levers we did earlier. And then we had a little dab of CA glue for the steering wheel. Make sure it's straight. And there we go, there's our dashboard. We do have to carpet those little pieces underneath. We'll do those at a later date. I don't want to get anything near those decals for now or anything that's been glued. And then there's our shifter. That looks really good. That little decal on top adding a little bit of detail that was missing in my opinion. Like I say, I'm still on the fence about dry brushing. I might do it. I don't know. It can be done at a later date. It's not a problem at all. I'm just going to give it a couple of days and see how the interior grows on me. But for now, I'm just going to glue everything in place. So there we go. Again, test fitting. Very, very important. We got our pen. Just got to put a little dab of CA glue right in the centre. We already know it fits because we test fitted it. And then push it home. Like so. And there we go. There's our little center console done. Now our flocked carpeted interior. Our center console sits here. Hence why we didn't go all over the top of the flock. A couple of dabs of CA glue. Well, 3 in total. So hopefully this will hold it all in place, and touch wood, we'll have no bare pieces of plastic showing at all. So multitasking here, if you remember right, if you're watching on, I think it was, let me see, it would have been Sunday's show. I was doing a lot of this work then, whilst live, so I was live on YouTube while filming, doing a build video, multitasking away. And I did say, if you're watching back now, you'll probably remember me doing some of these parts. I think it was last Sunday. It might have even been yesterday, Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday, actually. There we go. Glued in place. Job done. Foot pedals. These have been primed in UMP black. And that's the black colour I'm going to leave for everything else. I'm just going to detail paint them with a little bit of Model Air silver. Just very carefully paint them up. Again, you can't really see these, but we know they're there. We've added the detail. If you're looking through the door from the side, which hopefully we'll be able to on the completed model, you will be able to see these as well. So well worth adding the detail. And again, once it's done, as long as you don't put your paint on too thick, you can put a wash in there as well. But yeah, nice bit of careful painting. We've got an old Tamiya flat brush here I use for my metallic painting. Probably needs replacing because it has blown a little bit at the end. But it still does the job just fine. These metallic Model Airs do cover really well. Straight out the bottle. No thinning needed. Very good brush paints. And there we go. We'll pop that to one side to dry. Job's a good one. Now this is the side panel on the seat that holds the electric adjustments for the seat.
And again, test fitted, dab of CA glue, job done. Repeat for the other side. We've got a little dab of CA glue for our foot pedals. So pop it in, pop it on top, make sure it's straight. And again, job done. And then we have our seats. Now, I'm a little bit off camera. I didn't realise I was zoomed in so much, so do bear with me here. So the seats do move forward and back for that little track you can see underneath. So these parts go underneath, and there's 2 locating points in the seat. Again, we'll just clear off a bit of excess embossing powder. This pushes through. 2 little locators on the seat, and this allows the seat to slide forward and back. Now, again, a little bit gimmicky because we're never going to move the seats round, but it does work. So yeah, not too bad. So we're just test fitting it. Once we're happy, we'll put a little dab of CA glue in the seat locator and glue it in place. And repeat for the other side. And again, another part of the interior in. Dashboard, again, I do apologise for being slightly off camera. I didn't realise I was zoomed in. Again, I think I remember I was still live. And yeah, you do get distracted. But the dashboard has 2 little locator points. There you go. There's 1, they just slot in the sides. And 2. So again, don't need to glue it. And there we go. There is all our interior in. It's not looking bad at all. Again, still on the fence about dry brushing the leather. I kind of like how it looks now. Anyone with one of these cars, these things are worth a fortune now. The interior should be in pretty good condition. You can pay a couple of million for one of these things. So I'd like to think the interior is in good nick. But there we go. It's not a bad looking interior at all. Looks pretty good. The washers added a bit of depth to the seats. The instruments look good on the cluster. Gear stick looks good with our little decal on top. And the embossing powder looks quite good as our carpet as well. It could be better, it could be worse, but for me, that'll do for now. There we go then. Quite happy with that. Like I said at the end, just then, it could be better, it could be worse. There's a few things want to change. Don't know. I really didn't want to go with a different colour interior, but looking at the body, I think some of the colours I picked didn't quite suit it. I think I might have regretted it down the line. So I think going with a grey or black was the right choice. And I'm glad I chose grey, because then it's not just a sea of black in there. You wouldn't see a thing. You wouldn't notice anything if it was all black. So at least with the contrasting black carpet and grey interior, hopefully it's going to look decent. Yeah, that's the hope anyway. But I'm happy how it's come out. I'm looking at it because it's over here. The instrument binnacle looks really good. Glad I found the acetate. And the carpets look really good as well. So hopefully once we get all this in, it's going to look decent. And yeah, happy how it's gone. Very happy with that one. It's a nice interior to build. It's a bit gimmicky with the moving seats, but well, it's one of those things, and it's a bigger kit. I suppose it's a feature of it. Not that you'd ever use it, but it's there and adds a little bit more interest to the build as well. So there we go. As always, got any comments or questions, pop them down below. I still have to go through all your comments and reply. It is a plan to do. I've got a few other videos to make as well that I've thought of along the way. One is a look at my workbench, not the room, because we've done that before. Just a bench, where I sit, what's at hand, the tools I use, and so on. And then a similar one for the spray booth as well, where we go through all the spray booth tools and what's there and everything. And we'll do the spray booth first. I think I spoke about this in the video yesterday, but I plan to do that, and I might release this on Friday. So if it's Saturday, it went up yesterday, or Thursday. Went up one day. Anyway, we'll get it up and have a look. So yeah, there we go. As always, check out International Scale Model Facebook page and forum, umpretail.com. We get a lot of the products I've used in my videos today. There's a link in the description of the videos to all the products I use in my videos, and I try to give a link to each one so you can find them. So if you see you using a glue or a sander or a clear coat or the camera or the MacBook or holders, anything, it'll probably be in that list. So go and have a look at that. Check out the Live the Bench page and Off Air Hangout group for the live show and Off Air Hangout news as well. And my Paul ISM Facebook page and Instagram as well. Please go look at my Paul ISM Facebook page. I'm trying to get that over 4,000 followers. We're not far off. And the channel's nearly 50,000 subs as well. So if you're not a member, a subscriber, click the subscribe button, click the thumbs up for the video, click the bell notification, to get notified of all the latest videos, and leave a comment down below. I appreciate everyone's comments. I love reading the comments and feedback and what have you. I do appreciate it, but I have a lot to catch up on, and there's another message for me there on Facebook. So there we go. Thanks for watching today. I will see you all, I'm going to reckon, Monday. Hopefully the next video up every other couple of days. We'll see. But if you've got any feedback or questions, comments, please pop them down below. Thanks for watching today, everyone. Take care, everybody. Bye.